Welcome back, my Duelist friends. Casual Duelist here, and it's Friday. Friday means I finally got around to building you guys a deck. The deck is going to be an update on the Valkyrie, because I actually finally got a copy of Sigurn. So because I have this, I feel confident making the deck list. Even though I'm supposed to have 3 of them in here, I did make a couple of substitutions by increasing the amount of Brunhildes for now. But I do have an order for some Sigurns coming in soon. So didn't want to try to push this deck off any further. So let's get into it. It's a 40 card main deck. The 15 extra deck is your choice. I will be using Pot of Extravagance. So literally just pick whatever links you like, because that's basically all you're going to get out of there. So just 3 of whatever you want to play. Because again, with Extravagance, we don't get to pick the banishes. So to start off the deck, I'm going to start in the monsters, obviously. We're going to choose 2 copies of Athena. And I understand Athena, little Greek, not exactly Nordic mythology, doesn't exactly fit, but it does. And the reason is it is another fairy, just like every other monster in this deck. And it has an amazing little effect that, with a little bit of chip damage, can actually help you take out the opponent. So each time a fairy-type monster is summoned, inflict 600 damage to the opponent. Then once per turn, you can send 1 fairy-type monster you control with a different name to the graveyard to special summon 1 fairy-type monster from the graveyard with a different name. So this will allow us to trade out 1 Valkyrie for another Valkyrie, potentially triggering their effects, as well as allowing us to do a little bit of spot burn. Next up, I want to run a single copy of Hecatrice. We're using Hecatrice because it is a pitch searcher. What we discard this for is Valhalla, Hall of the Fallen, from the deck to the hand. Doing a 1-3 split this time, instead of like a 2-3 or a 3-3, because I wanted to have more of the Valkyrie in this build and kind of get away from the use of the Hecatrice. It is what it is. Like I said, 2 of these Brunhildes are actually supposed to be Sigurns. It's just I needed to make this a 40-card build for today. This card is unaffected by opponent's spell effects. Gain 500 attack for each monster the opponent controls. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can have this card lose exactly 1,000 defense. If you do, your Valkyrie cannot be destroyed by battle this turn. Now, again, this isn't a bad one, so that's why this one is the one that went up to 3. But again, normally the way that I actually wanted to present this build, Brunhild was at 1. Next Valkyrie we're going to use is going to be Drit. We do want to have a full flight of 3. Drit's effect: if this card is normal or special summoned, you may add 1 Valkyrie card, doesn't say spell, trap, or monster, from the deck to the hand except Drit. You can only use this effect once per turn, gains 200 attack for each of the opponent's banished monster cards. So again, this deck is fun. Another thing we could have done, we could have played Macro. We could have played D-Fisher. Those are still options if you guys want to play them. I just chose to play something different in my trap zones today. We are going to run 1 Erda, and Erda is a solid 1. You can only control 1 of these at a time, so again, no need to actually have more than 1. While you control this, special summoned by the effect of any Valkyrie card, all face-up monsters your opponent control lose 1,000 attack. Any card destroyed by battle or by card effect that would be sent to your opponent's graveyard is banished instead. So again, she's going to kind of do the job for us. But if you guys want, you guys could totally put it in, like I said, you can put it in the macro. It's in my sideboard, but again, I don't ever show my side decks. So right now, I'm just letting you know it's there. As are a couple of other cards. It's like 3 macro, 3 D shifters, and like 1 D Fisher. Plus some other good cards, like Nibiru and stuff like that. Just is what it is. We are going to be running the single Erst. If this is special summoned from your hand by a spell effect, you can target 1 Mischief of the Time Goddess in the graveyard, add that to your hand. If you control a Valkyrie monster other than Erst, as a quick effect, you could choose to banish 1 monster in the opponent's graveyard. Then this card's attack becomes equal to the banished monster's original attack till the end of this turn. So again, it's a good way to start manipulating the opponent's discard pile, taking cards out of the game, while also getting banishments off, which will go back to Drit's effect. So again, it's a one-of. It's not bad. Funft, we're going to use one copy of her. Valkyrie monsters you control gain 200 for each of your opponent's banished monster cards. If you control a Valkyrie monster other than Funft, you can send one spell trap from your deck to the graveyard. Use this effect only once per turn. Again, I don't know why you really need to send too many spell traps to the discard pile, but I get it. Next up, we're going to play 3 copies of Sext. If this card is special summoned, you can special summon one Valkyrie from the deck with a different name. During the end phase, you can send the top 2 from your opponent's deck to the discard. You can use each effect once per turn. Again, it is it is a hard once per turn. Her name is in quotes. Then, of course, Sigurn. Sigurn is the reason I did not rebuild this sooner, because this is the first time I've had the opportunity to obtain one. Again, this would have been in the loot report, but I don't try to loot report things that end up going directly into my collection as far as my playable cards. I tend to only highlight the cards I'm going to keep off to the side. And then again, this one would be at 3. This is why there are 2 more Brunhilds than I had wanted. If this card is in your hand, you may target one face-up spell trap you control, send that to the graveyard, and if you do, special summon this card. If this is normal or special summoned, you may special summon a level 8 or lower Valkyrie from the hand or the graveyard. Each of these effects is once per turn. And one of the brilliant things about this is, again, you remember the Hecatrice, which means we're playing Valhalla, Hall of the Fallen, which means you can get your first special summon, send it, get Sigurn as another special summon, Sigurn's effect to get another special summon, plus summoning another card. So again, this is another reason why you can play a bunch of Link 3 and 4 monsters in the extra deck. Again, with all the high levels, you could play things like Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos. It's just because I went the route of using the Pot of Extravagance later in the deck. I'm just not going to showcase an extra deck, so that's entirely up to you guys. Play what feels right, and I know you guys will do it right. Next up, we're going to be using 2 copies of Virt. Virt is another good one. During the main phase, you may excavate the top cards of your deck equal to the number of other Valkyrie monsters that you control. If you do, add 1 excavated normal spell or trap card to the hand, sending the remaining cards to the discard. Otherwise, you will shuffle all excavated cards back into the deck. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon 1 Valkyrie from your deck. And again, it doesn't say it has to be a different name. So you can go from Virt to Virt, or Virt to, I don't know, Sigurn. And again, each of these effects is a solid once per turn. So again, Virt's one of my favorites. Just very utility. Last up, single copy of Svite. If this is summoned, you can target 1 monster that the opponent controls, destroy it. So again, that's awesome. After damage calculation, if this card battled, you can target 1 continuous spell card in the graveyard. Add that back to your hand. You can use each effect once per turn. Now, the way that we're playing this, the Svite is only going to be able to target our Valhalla. Traditionally, I think like the last time I played this, I did use the Goddess spells, and they were all continuous spells. So again, I do believe I was using 2, maybe even 3 Svites then. But again, Sigurn wasn't around yet, so I do feel like the deck has shifted just a little bit. Plus, with Athena's effect, we can go ahead, we can keep getting Svite and manipulating that effect from the summon into the discard to continually destroy some stuff. So right there's my monsters. I'm going to try to move this, see if that clears up just a tiny bit. You guys either take the screenshot or pause with some notes, and I'll be back with the spell traps. Starting off our spells, I'm going to start with a single copy of Called by the Grave. I do believe this one's pretty straightforward, but essentially we're going to try to chase hand traps with it. Because again, we do a lot of goofy things. I am playing 2 Final Lights. Again, you guys might choose to play a 3rd. This is all I own at the moment. And so, of course, this is why I added traps, because there were actually some other cards I did want to play initially. But then I just played a playset of a trap card. So again, Final Light, paid multiples of 1,000, target a Valkyrie per 1,000 with different names. Special summon those targets. Then the opponent can special summon monsters with 2k or less from their own graveyard, up to the number of monsters that you summoned through this effect. You can only activate 1 of these per turn, and this is another big reason why we want to work on banishing our opponent's monsters. because again, this means that they will get no lesser options. I am going to run a single Monster Reborn because it's amazing. We are going to want 2 copies Mischief of the Time Goddess. And again, this is another thing. I think I played at 3 last time, and I hope I'm playing a little smarter. It feels smarter playing this one at 2. So neither player can activate cards or effects in response to this card's activation. Cannot be activated as a chain link 2 or higher. Has to be link 1. At the end of the battle phase, if all monsters you control are Valkyrie monsters, send this card to the graveyard. Also, immediately after effect resolve, skip to the start of the battle phase of your next turn. If you do, you cannot activate another copy of this until the end of that turn. So essentially, I'm trying to go for game when I activate this. But at the same time, and this is where it's important, if you fail to get rid of your opponent in this extra battle phase, note the wording, you went to your battle phase of your next turn. Not you conducted a second battle phase this turn. So again, if you do pass in a battle fate or whatever happens, goes to your opponent's turn, comes back to you, you get a main phase 1 and you get an end phase. Because again, you can't have a main phase 2 unless there's a battle phase, and you already used your battle phase. So do keep that in mind. And again, 2 copies does seem fair. Single copy, 1 for 1. And again, this is just to get sexed out. Next up, Pot of Extrava. You guys know what this is going to do. Again, do you want to play Prosperity in this deck? Probably not, because again, Prosperity is going to make it so like you're only doing half damage during your turn. So like, I do go with the Extravagance. Yes, the Banishment is random, but just maximize the good cards that you wanted to see in your extra deck, which is why we're not going to show one today. But Extravagance, in my opinion, for this deck at least, is actually the better option. We do want a copy of Reasoning. We got levels 1 through like 9 in here. So again, it's going to be really hard for your opponent to pin down exactly which one's coming up next. So this almost always works. You will lose some of the other cards in the process. Next up, we do want to run 3 copies Ride of the Valkyries. Special summon any number of Valkyrie with different names from the hand. If you special summon 3 or more through this effect, you take no battle damage until the end of the next turn. Regardless, during the end phase of the turn you activate this card, shuffle all monsters you control back into the deck. Again, this is another reason why the Valhalla is so important. And it says any number, so you could choose to, like if you had 4 monsters in your hand that were eligible, you could choose just to summon 3. If you chose to just summon 3, you'll keep the 4th monster. If you do have the Valhalla, you can go ahead, you could start by summoning out 1 monster next turn, then trying to do whatever the effects now let you do. So again, try to play this a little smarter, but this is the better one at 3. Your monsters will bounce, but again, it's cool because if you played at least 3, you're not taking the battle damage. The next part, you banish this in the graveyard, add 1 Mischief of the Time Goddess from the deck to the hand, use this effect once per turn. So again, a 2-3 for the Mischief to the Ride. It does feel like it works better. And I don't think I was smart enough to come across that last time. I think I ran 3 and 3. Again, 3 Valhallas. And again, kind of weird, but it definitely feels Nordic themed because, Valhalla, Hall of the Fallen, legitimately from Norse mythology. And once per turn, if you control no monsters, you can special summon a fairy from your hand. And again, if you look at the errated text here, pretty much the same thing. Once per turn, special summon 1. You must control no monsters to activate and resolve this effect. So if your opponent activated something like, let's get weird, Ujamaa Duo or Trio, in response to you targeting activating the effect of Valhalla, the resolution of that trap card leaving you with tokens would actually, in fact, block the Valhalla. So that's different. Doesn't come up very often. 1 copy, Valkyrie's Embrace. If all monsters you control are Valkyries, target 1 attack position Valkyrie that I control, target 1 face-up monster the opponent controls. Mine goes to defense, and yours gets banished. I may not special summon the turn I activate this except for Valkyries, and you may only activate 1 of these per turn. Again, guys, if you like playing this card, you can increase this one. And again, there's a spot that could be Macrocosmos, could have been Infinite Impermanence, but I did not want to leave the studio because my deck that has those right now is not down here with me. So I went ahead, I dipped into the Common Charity stash, and I grabbed 3 Solemn Strikes because they're just as good. We still want to deal with monster effects. but this could also stop our opponent from special summoning over the top of us. So again, it's still good, but again, you can do whatever you want with these 3 spots. If you like macro, you guys could play macro. At which point you're going to get rid of the Final Lights, the Monster Reborn, and then you're going to start playing other things since you're not going to be able to resurrect from the discard pile. Chances are you're not going to play Athena at that point, and then you'll just start switching around a few of your options. So guys, I hope that you enjoyed this. This was the 40 card build. Again, if you think that we did well today, maybe give us a like and a comment. It helps us get seen by more people on this platform. Additionally, maybe we earned your subscription today. If not, well, hey, there's always tomorrow. Or if this is your first time checking out the channel, you know, there are hundreds of other videos on this channel. Go enjoy some of them. I made them for you, specifically for you. Maybe, probably, definitely. Either way, I hope I do get to see you guys again later. So for today, at least, see you later. Peace.